coaching talk to get into here. I think next up, I wanted to kind of touch on, this has been frustrating the hell out of me, but so Commanders Saints in this game was actually closer than we thought. They ended up getting a touchdown, and then they went for two. The Saints did at the end of the game there. But a lot of controversy over the officiating and the stoppage of the clock with 9 seconds left that ended up putting 4 extra seconds on the clock there and allowed them to spike it and go for it there at the end of the game. What did you think of that? Did you see the controversy in the video leading up to that stuff?
No.
It was pretty brutal, and you could see there was a stop there, and there was actually some notes that came out. I think it was Sean Hockley's staff, and they basically said, like, yeah, there was an errant clock stoppage, and at that point in time, there's nothing you can do to correct it, and you go from there. But I bring this up because I'm constantly looking at the state of officiating in this league, and the Bengals-Titans game, I'm sure if you're in the Bengals Twitter and all that stuff, you could see everybody else was a little upset at how poor the officiating was in that game. That was one of the poorest officiated games I've seen. And it just seems like every year the product is, if not the same, also getting worse in aspects as well. Seems to continue to be like they just can never figure it out. And they just have control over such big moments and things like that. It's a little bit frustrating.
So what would you like to see out of it is the next question, right? Like, what would be the game like where at the end of the day, if it's progressively getting worse, do you want less control in those moments and let it just be? Or would you want the call to get right and for it to actually improve? I think the biggest topic that probably Play Action Nation and everyone else in this world, right, is looking for is like, it's the same situation in the MLB with what they've done with the video calls and kind of making sure that the play is right regardless of the situation, right? And like a lot of these other, big moments otherwise would never have gone to a video review and would have stand the tail of time here, and you would have been like, oh, what if now you have the what if scenarios locked up? Well, what's the best case of this? For it to get better, for someone to have a audit on these guys to be like, can't fucking do that. Like, I don't know what systems they have in play. That's the curiosity to me.
Well, the sad thing is this is a multi-billion-dollar business, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And this is the product you have from an officiating standpoint. Like, that's what I don't understand. To me, like, it's one thing if this is like a high school football game or something like that. Officials are going to be trash. Like, it is what it is. But this is a product that is watched from thousands of different angles with the cameras that we have nowadays. And the way it is handled, to me, is pretty crazy. And I think you can start alone with the amount of face mask calls that have been missed in plain sight this year. And the fact that a penalty like that, I think when we get into this topic of how do we fix this, it's like, number one, there is no gray area to a face mask penalty, correct? Therefore, something like that with no gray area, no judgment call, it's plain and simple, should absolutely be reviewed.
Yeah, you know what I think is funny?
Especially if it's under 2 minutes.
What I think is funny is when they have in the broadcast the official reviewer.
Oh my God.
So they actually, what do you think of this? And they go to a former ref or they go to a former person, and it's like
Dean Blandino, rules official. Like, tell us what you thought.
Yeah, what do you need in that moment if not to say fucking really loud that you realize that your fucking league is out of control when it comes to the officiating? Like, if you have to then review the call that's being reviewed, at the end of the day, does that mean that it's inherently wrong more than it's not? Like, like, that's a problem. The fact that you have someone to lean on in your booth to be like, yeah, well, actually, I don't agree with this one, Paul. Like, like, what the fuck is that?
And you got to explain it and
you got to explain it. Yeah, no, I don't think that's right. Like, and now it just creates fodder for everyone, for you, for me, to be like, what the fuck? Because it's wrong. Like, so how do you get it right?
And I don't want to be the one that just sits here and, like, we've all seen it. We all know
Yeah.
that the product on the field is suspect when it comes to the officials. I mean, you don't make memes about the Chiefs getting every call for no fucking
No,
reason. Like there's
there's
merit to
something
that.
there.
We're not
Yeah.
just fabricating
Yeah.
these narratives, right?
Yeah.
Like it is there, it is in plain sight, and it's like, okay, when are we going to do something about this? And you might not say, depending on what team you're a fan of,
Yeah.
you won't care enough until it happens to your
See
team
you. Yeah.
in the biggest moments of the game. And that's the biggest thing. Like,
Yeah.
I get it, we can sit here and talk about it, but wait until it happens to you
Yeah.
in a game where there's no next day to show up for. Like,
Yeah,
and
you're
it's
only nose blind and don't smell the shit until it happens right in your
yeah,
face. Like, yeah,
exactly. Until you're
absolutely.
on the other end
Yeah.
of that Chiefs
Yeah.
call, only then will you know what that feels like.
Yeah.
But we're seeing shit like this, and I just want things to get it right. And we talked about the face mask stuff, simple things we can do to fix that. I think everything should be reviewed under 2 minutes, especially from that
Agreed.
perspective.
Yeah.
And I've seen plenty of hands to the face calls. Like Joe Burrow's getting smacked every week. This week too, another missed one, hands to the face, like blatant face, just ripped his head off.
Yeah.
No call on a third
Yeah.
down. And it's every week I'm seeing this, and it's like,
Yep.
okay, we got to do something about it. And then when you get into this is my perspective when it comes to pass interference calls.
Mm-hmm.
So we already talked about the fact that if this is the way the league is going, why in the world aren't people just taking X amount of deep shots every single game?
Every time.
Because of the fact that if somebody just gets a little bit handsy and that ref feels trigger happy, like you're going to get a call go your way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just throw it up there, see what you get.
Mm-hmm.
I think based on what a pass interference call can do and how it's being officiated right now, I think this needs to be changed to a 15-yard penalty like the collegiate rule. I think because of the fact that this call is getting butchered so many more times than none,
mm-hmm.
and it can change the landscape of
a
a
massive
game.
change of a game.
It's huge.
Big
huge.
Arm will automatically change the game.
Like, if you're throwing and taking a 50-yard shot,
You know
that's
what was
a
funny?
50-yard swing.
Last
on a controversial call.
We're watching that Atlanta game, right? And I'm going to myself, I'm like, this guy doesn't have the fucking arm to do this. He's never going to be able to make this happen. So it's like, add the arm and the situation, and take your shot, right? Yeah. But don't have that arm. That guy shit out of luck to make that play happen because nothing's, and even still, I don't think he got a pass interference. But like, if that were to be the case, like, you're moving the chains fucking huge. Yeah. And if you have the arm to go there, and even if it doesn't matter, like, I'm as a defender, and I'm like, yo, if you catch this ball, sick. But if you don't, just get roughed up a little bit in the moment, and let's see it with fucking flag goes.
Swings the field.
Like, it's the same shit as what happens in everyone, like, fucking soccer, where guys are taking dives left, right, and center. Well, that's what you're now forcing people to fucking do in this position. Because now it's like, oh, like, the jokes right now, and like Josh Allen taking, like, fucking
he's got unnecessary
some nice roughness.
Flops. He's got some nice
wicked flops, right?
He's good at that.
He's fantastic. But like, that's where you would say, like, is the same situation for pass interference. Are receivers going to just start learning how to flop in that same spot and going to get a call their way, and it's going to run, right? Like, we probably haven't counted those this season, but if we did, I guarantee you it's moved a lot of fucking needles in the right direction for a lot of teams going towards a win.
Yeah, I agree. So like, let's take the onus off the refs here, and let's make this a 15-yard penalty. That way we can save some of the integrity from this game, because it's just getting butchered with some of the calls. In the Bengals game, I saw one of the worst pass interference calls ever. I don't even think the guy barely even made contact with him, and you just see the ref like, I'm just, it's a deep shot. I'm just going to throw the flag here. Fuck it.
Yep.
And it's at the goal line, and you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, they shouldn't have that much control over dictating the outcome of a game.
Yeah.
And if that's a big game, something like that is a huge swing, man. Like, third down, big play like that. I think that's a topic of conversation moving forward is fixing that, because that would just help keep the game in check a little bit more. And
it would otherwise change, like, especially moving like the offense that much closer. Right. Yeah. Like, it's just, at least then it would change completely that final drive, like in a lot of cases, because now you can't take that. And if you get it, sure, you could maybe incrementally go 15, 15, 15, 15, 15 and make your way up the field. But it relies so much more on the talent of the team rather than the call to make that play.
Yeah, completely.
Agreed. For
I
sure.
think one more thing to touch on with that is like, you look at the flags that are being called, they're literally, when they underthrow the football,
Mm-hmm.
we're giving this as a win to the offense because the quarterback underthrows the football, and then the receiver has to come back to the ball, and he runs into the DB, and we're calling that pass interference. How are we rewarding the offense for an underthrown ball on a route? Like, that kind of stuff, to me, it really blows my mind. Like, what are you supposed to do as a defensive back in these situations? And they talk about getting the head around. Like, dude, that's not part of the rule. You don't have to get your head around, but they've created this stir where it's like, what? Since when is this a thing?
Yeah, there's definitely like I do like the concepts about even the running backs and these like, you know, the quarterbacks taking a run, right? Like the slides, the design slides and all these plays that are fucking benefiting the offense. At some point in time, you do have to balance that defensive measure too, right? And right now it's like every call that's currently played, right? It's so heavily slated towards the offensive team benefiting in those moments that you're right. Like DBs, all these guys can't fucking make them play. And if they do, they're damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Yeah,
So
they're
it's
screwed
like,
either way.
well, what do you have to do to make that call, right? And you know, some of that is just changing the way that some of these rules and plays get called and how they go. That's simple definition change, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is when you make such a simple definition change, is all the players have grown up playing one way, and then it completely fucks things up. You can't say that it hasn't happened in hockey. Hockey's a completely different game
sport. Yeah, every
from contact
sport.
in the 2000s to where it is today. It's a completely different sport based on the hitting rules that they implemented. So,
yeah, I think they need to, spend a little bit of time getting in and fixing this product here and eliminating this gray area of not even understanding what calls are anymore, because I think it's just ruining the game. And we sit here and we talk about this, and I promise you, down the line here, some of this shit's going to happen, just like we've seen over the past couple of years, where flag's going to go and it's going to ruin the outcome of a game, and it's probably not going to be justified, right? Like, I'm all for the justified ones. As long as you get the call right, I don't care. It's the ones where it's like, wow, like you're really turning the game off of that stuff. That's what pisses me off. But
fair.
Tough to see. And then we can go from that into